Yes, hello.
Welcome back on Qui Recensioni Fan, the most followed page by Italian Queen fans and not only. How are you, Rudy?
I'm fine. It's very
Fine.
hot here today,
Yeah,
about 50 degrees Celsius. And I'm
yeah,
packing here. If you want to look, I'm packing my office
yeah. I see.
because I'm soon going to Europe.
Yeah. Oh, finally. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm glad to have you for the fifth time in my life, Rudy. And
I tell you why, Roberto. I tell you why, because
yeah.
you
Okay.
are professional.
Thank
You
you, Rudy.
keep your word.
Thank
I
you.
have the feeling that you love Queen more than you love yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
a little bit, because some people love themselves more than they love Queen. They
Yeah.
think they're more important than Queen or me or whatever. And the
Yeah.
fourth thing is you are persistent. If you say you call, you call. So this is one of the reasons why QUEENRECENSIONI Fan, and also I have to say, but maybe I helped a little bit. You now had Mike Moran, you now
Yeah.
had Peter Straker, they're all my
Yeah.
friends. Maybe they
Thank
saw
you.
me on you or whatever, I don't know, or we see each other. So if I see somewhere where Peter Freestone or Peter Straker or Mike Moran goes, then this guy cannot be bad. So this is why I'm here. And I'm very happy to be here for the fifth time. Please, go on.
Okay. Let's get started. First question. You will be nominated in the Hall of Fame as Best Video Maker, and you will be the first Austrian to win it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you feel, and would you like to talk about this wonderful achievement?
Good. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And if I may add something, I'm not only the first Austrian, I am the first ever music video director in the world.
Okay.
Because it is for artists. Queen invited me. I was there quite many years ago. The mother of Freddie was also there. Jim Beach, of course, the band, and Terry Stickles, the tour manager, and they invited me as a thank you many years ago when Queen was inducted. They call it inducted to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But there is people like Chuck Berry, Prince, Rolling Stones. I mean, this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know.
Yeah.
And my manager in Los Angeles, like 3 years ago, said, Rudy, you should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I said, don't be ridiculous. This is, this is for, I am not, cannot compare myself. I am just a filmmaker. Yeah. And she says, no. So she started and she was sending them everything, blah, 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 blah. And now I have three things with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. First, this is Queen related.
Yeah.
I donated to the Museum of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame an award, which is actually for John Deacon. It's a big gold camera award, a really nice award, because when we won something for videos or documentaries that I directed, I always took care that all four of them get a copy of the awards, because I like to have that and that.
Yeah.
And John Deacon never cared. So he took it when I gave it to him, but the last one he never picked up. So I have an award which I have with my name, also with John Deacon. I mean, if I would be into the money business, I would say I sell it to a Queen fan and probably could have made much money. No, but I donated it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they called me and said they have very little Queen memorabilia in their museum. So that's hanging there soon. Number two, I was now called by the big production company 10th Planet, who is doing for nationwide television in America, the HBO, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame television show. And for each person who is inducted, this year it's Whitney Houston amongst others, there is a 15-minute film. And they now hired me as the producer to do that film, which is first a big honor and second a big I'm also great for the for as a credit, you know, to do it. And the third thing is, it's unbelievable that I'm really nominated. I mean, I can't still believe it. It's also still I mean, you know it because you are well informed, but it's still unofficial. So I hope they don't disqualifying me because I am. I just know that I don't know it officially. Let's put it that way, but I know it's true. Yeah. Okay.
Good, good. Concerning your book, you told you have finished it. Okay. How many chapters does the book consist of, and are you satisfied with the finished work?
It has 50 chapters, 50 plus, and I have to remember to talk slowly for the translation into Italy. Sorry, I'm sometimes so emotional. I'm like Italian, you know. And then so it's 50 chapters plus. Now, what does plus mean? I'm printing all the interviews I did with Freddie word by word to read. You know some of it, you don't know all of it. There's one or two which are rarely used. So it's the interviews. Then there will be a complete list of what I have done for Queen, all my work. All videos, where it was filmed, a little bit of information, all documentaries, live shows, everything with the date and everything. So it has a complete, you know, it has a documentary value for the Queen fan. And then I found across, this is also, I'm in the moment, the chapters are written, but I am putting together the visuals, the photographs and other visuals that will be in the book. And I came across, which is I found in my office in Vienna, actually, before I left, the old storyboards of the music videos. So I always made very, very detailed concepts with different colors and drawings and so on, you know, which I always called the Bible, because everything that I had of ideas, it was in this one, and it was not in the computer. It was, yes, the lyrics were computer, but everything else was handwritten. I'm still doing a lot of handwriting these days. So I found them. So that's interesting because some of the videos, but for some videos, I did more than one concept. For example, for Invisible Man, I had to do 3 concepts because the band didn't have any idea and said, give us 3 ideas, and we picked the best one. So there is 2 concepts which were never filmed. And I put this as rarity in the book. Because you know the song, you know Invisible Man was the video game, but there was also a concept who played in a circus, which was something completely different. And there was a third concept, which was again different. So if you know the song as a Queen fan and you see the storyboard, you can imagine and in your head can make your own video. How could this look like? And maybe it's even more interesting than the original video. So there's a lot of bonuses in there, which is also the reason why I'm putting it together. Listen. I was never a Queen fan, but I was a fan of many other bands before I became a professional.
I know.
I am a collector. I still have a lot of things. In one of my programs, I found a book where Paul Rodgers was, well, actually, I can show it to you. When I'm now packing, I found this book.
Yeah, the tour with the Paul Rodgers,
Yes, which I didn't know. Yeah, because as far as I know, Jim Beach was not happy and it was taken off the market. I don't know the details. But Paul Rodgers gave me this as a present because I also filmed, and not only did I film Queen and Paul Rodgers in Budapest.
Yeah.
But I also filmed, which is not released yet, a Paul Rodgers documentary on Paul Rodgers' history, and we became good friends. And he wrote in there for Rudi, a moment in time, and you were there.
Cool. Cool.
And those things I keep, and I will never sell this. Never. No, because no, listen. I mean, the Grammys of Whitney Houston, who is dead, were sold on eBay by the estate of Whitney Houston. Can you imagine? So I think that's disgusting. Yeah. And I'm also in my testament, when I'm going one day in another sphere, I will say that nothing is allowed to be sold. They can make a museum, they can make exhibitions, but not sell it, you know, because these were personal things. And I find this very cheap when people are selling things that were given to them as a present. I think that is not cool. That is not, you know, that is. So anyway, so that's why I'm taking a lot of effort and thinking of what can the Queen fan like, and what is not known, and what is an extra and another extra and another extra, to make this book not a Freddie Mercury book, but together with the book of my friend Peter Freestone, the Freddie Mercury book that you must have.
Well, during your show, you read the beginning of your book in preview. Could you read something else in preview here for us, please?
Yes. So I have to change to the reading glasses, which look a little different because I'm reading it from my laptop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read exclusively and as a world premiere for Mr. Roberto and QUEENRECENSIONI Fan and my Italian fans. Nobody else has seen this apart from my publisher and maybe 5 people of my friends. It's more than I was reading in my show, Rudi Backstage, which is, as you know, every Sunday. But I think to get the context, I'm starting from the beginning. So the beginning, you know, if you have listened to my show, but then it continues, because for people who have not seen the show, if I start in the middle of the foreword, it's like, you know. So, and also you then, also for your YouTube and what have you, you have the whole thing. It's not the complete foreword. There is still a part which I didn't read because maybe I come a 6th time.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you.
I haven't read it in quite a long time, so please excusa if I make a mistake. Yeah, it's live. Yeah. Hang on, I have an idea for your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Buonasera amici miei italiani e buonasera a tutti I fans. Benvenuti a mio world premiere forwardo esclusivo per Roberto. Questo sarà una dinamite reading, uno spettacolo esplosivo.
Thank you.
Which is a variation of what I say at the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let me focus now because this is very.
Yeah.
I want to do. It is also personal, so no jokes.
Okay.
My friend Freddie, the Freddie Mercury book by Rudi Dolezal. A foreword of sorts. I was never really a fan of Queen, and before I got to know him, certainly not of Freddie Mercury. Back in 1971, it would never have occurred to me that I would one day be allowed to work with one of the biggest bands and one of the most charismatic superstars in rock history. My band has always been the Rolling Stones, filthy, dirty, and insolent, with that Keith Richards guitar sound that hot wires your ears to your testicles and genitals. Nevertheless, I accepted when at the end of the 70s, no, actually it was in the mid-80s, the record company offered the chance to interview the Queen singer in Munich and Brian May. After all, back then, Queen were, as they are today, one of the world's most successful bands. Freddie Mercury's reputation for hating TV interviews preceded him, so I set off with my TV crew for Munich, my palms sweating. Freddie was rumored to be a very difficult interviewee. How very differently it would turn out. The interview with him, I still remember it as if it were yesterday, took place in a farmhouse parlor at the Hilton Tucherpark Hotel in Munich. We clicked with each other from the very first moment. We instantly were simpatico, and it was the beginning of what would become a decades-long collaboration and friendship with Freddie and Queen. Freddie kicked off the conversation with something like, "I've had to give bloody interviews all day. You are the last person I'm talking to. And because I'm thrilled it's all over soon, you get the best interview, darling." And he was true to his word, delivering meaty sound bites like, "I'm just a rock and roll prostitute, my dear." Or, "If the people stop buying our records, I become a strip artist." I dug deeper. "What music would you strip to?" Freddie's face lit up with a roggerish grin. "To all the songs I've written," he replied. "That's why I wrote them for." He burst out laughing, a laugh with which I would become so familiar. Once he had calmed down, he added, as if we had known each other forever, "You believe that, you believe anything." The ice was broken. That interview was to be the starting shot, the starting point of a decades-long collaboration. Not long afterwards, I, the novice Austrian filmmaker, found myself shooting my first official Queen video for Queen Productions. Wow! I'll talk about that too in this book, which really only tells my story with Freddie. You'll find no exhaustive biography here, no thoroughly researched, factually comprehensive history, but rather my story. The story of a long-haired hippie who moved out of Vienna's 9th district Alsergrund to conquer the world as a video director and music and filmmaker, which was ridiculous at the time. With enough front, naivete, and chutzpah to tell even Freddie Mercury after this first interview, "I sent you a copy of my TV report, and if you ever need to really have a good video director," Freddie nodded politely, "call me," the long-haired hippie added. Oh my God, Rudi, Rudi. But a few months later, I was in the studio with Freddie and Queen as the director of an official Queen video that would create a global furore. The chutzpah had paid off. Naivete had prevented me from considering the fact that Freddie and Queen had, up until this point, worked exclusively with the top British and American film and video directors on their videos, of the likes of David Mallet, or from being in any doubt that this world-famous band had not been waiting for a hippie from Alsergrund. But somehow, the look Freddie gave me at the end of that first interview in the farmhouse parlor in the Tucherpark in Munich had signaled, "Go for the impossible. Go for the impossible. Go for the impossible, Rudi. And that's what I did. The relationship between Freddie and myself would, over the years, become a very special one. Not just because he made me his sort of personal filmmaker. We also became friends. As a friend, it's not easy to write a book about a friend. I've been dragging my heels and thinking back and forth for more than 25 years. I tell stories in this book that I have never told before. What happened behind the scenes on video shoots, how I traveled with and for Freddie halfway around the world, from London to New York, India to Rio de Janeiro, Ibiza to Montreux. Freddie on tour, Freddie in the studio, Freddie the Rascal, Freddie as patron, and the private Freddie, right up until the very last interview he ever gave on camera. To me, the long-haired hippie from Eisergrund. I still remember, just as I remember that very first interview with him, the terrible, terrible call from his manager and dear friend until this day, Jim Beach, when he told me that Freddie was gone. Although, for me, Freddie is still here, ever present. Not just in his songs and in my countless videos and documentaries, many of which I directed with my partner at the time, Hannes Rossacher, now ex-partner for good reason. But in photographic records, interviews, recorded live shows, no. Freddie was, alongside Frank Zappa and Keith Richards, quite simply my best advisor, motivator, and mentor of my whole career. I still feel his presence on important projects today when he says, never try to be second best. I hear his voice warning me before I'm about to make a mistake, saying, this is too clever, Rudi. And at the same time, I miss him. Oh God, I miss him so very much. I miss his humor. I miss his intelligence. I miss his radicalism, his appreciation for art, his excess. I miss him until this day, every fucking day. That's it.
Very emotional, very interesting. I can wait to read your book. Amazing, Rudi. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
So I wanted to give you something special. I know that I'm sometimes, you know, the words are, I wrote this 2017, you know. I adjusted a little bit, and what you now heard is what I call the reading version. Yeah. Which is slightly different from the original version, because the more I read it, the more little things I add. I added, for example, now 2 things which are not standing here, just from the spontaneously. Yeah. And I think it gets better and better, although at some point you have to. But yeah, in the book, it's slightly different. But what you don't know yet, or what I haven't told anybody at least, maybe you know rumors, there will be a book tour of Rudi 2021 around the world, where I'm reading big parts of the book as an evening reading show on stage in Italy, France, Russia, Japan, Australia, America, of course, Canada, Montreux, depending on the Corona situation. Yeah, I was already, it should have started this year. It was planned for Montreux for the so-called breakthrough, which is the American version of the fan gathering, and in Paris I was already confirmed, and I wanted to do those 3 as a tryout, but Corona was preventing it. So you remember that all the people who are subscribing, which is for free, that it's a very limited action. You also will get a backstage pass like this. And I want to explain something. I'm trying to be very short. I said that only the first 2,500, and I didn't make any promotion for my YouTube channel because I had so many other things with packing and Corona and going back to Europe. But long story short, as the Americans say, there's only a few left to 2,500. Yeah, I think 100 or something. Mm-hmm. When you are doing this, you're not only getting this certificate, but the backstage pass brings you into an exclusive circle for the book tour 2021, because this is the backstage pass to backstage Rudi and meet me personally, like a meet and greet. And because it's 2,500 people from all over the world, this is like Thailand, Kenya, Africa, South Africa, Russia, etc. It's only a few people per country. Maybe there's a little bit more in Italy, but I mean, you know, so it's not a lot of people who will be allowed to do that, and nobody else. It's like a meet and greet pass as well. So if you have done already, because most of most of my followers, I think, have done it, but maybe it's good to recommend to your friends and say, subscribe now, because then you get this very soon. Because once the 2,500 is reached, and there will be no more, the next one will be in silver, but that's going to be different. They don't have a backstage pass for the book tour. And in this connection, I have to say, well, I'm tempted to read you more. Not the next time. I think it's not bad. I mean, honestly, I think, yeah, this is why from now on, from the Freddie Mercury book on, I call myself director and writer, because I think, you know, I wrote 3 or 4 books, of which one, the book on Falco, was pretty good, only in German it was released. But for the Freddie book, I had the help of a very good female writer. And in the beginning, she was part of that. And then she said to me, name doesn't mean anything, you don't know her. She's not famous, but she's very good. And she says, Rudi, you don't need me anymore. You really became a writer. You can do this on your own. That's great. Yeah. Which is what I'm doing. So I don't need anybody else to sort of do a little bit of the wording here and there. Oh, yeah. So now I start to enjoy it. Because listen, Roberto, for writing, I don't need anybody. I sit here or wherever, in Italy, in Spain, in Vienna, in Montreux. I usually used to write it with my hands. Or I now write it also in the computer, and I just need my memory and be in a good mood. I don't need a cameraman, I don't need a budget, I don't need a television station, this and that. Yeah. I can write a book on Whitney Houston, I can write a book on Michael Jackson, I can write a book on I can write a book about myself, you know, on my story. Yeah. So there's so many books in theory I will not write, yeah, that I would have worked for the next 10 years. I will still want to make films and videos, but only the important ones. And now let me tell you something. Yeah. Because there is, as you know, there is the campaign going on for many weeks of pre-ordering my book on www.myfriendfreddie.com. Now, because of Corona, a little bit things are delayed. Yeah. So I had an idea to shorten the waiting time for all the people who were so nice and paid, I think you were one of them, $10 many weeks ago, just for my word and trusting me, which is an obligation to me. And you know, there's 2 rules. Rudi never lies, and Rudi always keeps his word. Okay. So you don't have to worry. But being a fan myself, I know that the people are all sitting at home and saying, when is the book coming? When is the book coming? When is it finally coming? I hear this and that. It's like a permanent tease. So here is the idea, and I'm actually very proud of it. And it's only possible because I have some technical help of very clever young people who are all the people who have already pre-ordered the book, regardless whether it's the $10 regular autographed or the $15 VIP with a dedication. They are, you have to imagine, they are in an exclusive club. I don't have the name yet, but let's call it the pre-order club. Yeah, only those people who were so kind to invest $10 or $15 are in this club. And so, and I will do readings like this for also chapters, not only the foreword, for only those people. And Technic makes it possible. You don't have to pay anything more. You paid already $10 to shorten the waiting time. And there will be special live readings, which are known. And if you pay the $10, you're part of it. If you still do it, you will be part of it. And so you get a little bit like you would get a few chapters sent to you by mail, but it's not sent to you. It's read by the author, which I think is equally good.
Okay.
And now comes something which the social-minded person Rudi has to say, because that to some people it's really for shortening the waiting time. But as you know, not everywhere in the world, I have people who say, oh, Dolitzine, oh, you know, he's tricky, just wants to make money on his friendship. There is bad people everywhere. In Vienna, in Austria, in Germany, in America, in Italy, everywhere. Not a lot, but there is. And they will say, ah, very clever. That's another thing, so that a lot of people are pre-ordering the book. So, well, of course, first of all, I'm happy for every pre-order. But for those people, and they are around in Italy as well as for those people who cannot afford $10, and I'm very serious saying that, there is people who write to me who say, Rudi, I would love to pre-order the book, but I lost my job. I am without a job in the middle of Corona, and I do not have the $10. This is reality, realite. This is not made up. I will draw a certain number, let's say 10, who are in a special drawing when you send an email, and this is also new, to the email address backstage.rudifans, in one word, @gmail.com. And if you're really somebody who doesn't have the $10, so, because I'm now counting on the honesty of people. But if somebody really, after all this and after what I posted and so on, says, oh my God, I would really pre-order that book, but I don't have the $10. Rudi is not a money-making asshole. I'm not American. I'm not a capitalist. I'm not somebody who wants, yes, of course, I did a lot of work in that book. So finally, if I earn something, I think it's only fair. But I am not squeezing out money of people, especially in Corona times. So that is something that I also want to tell. Sorry for talking that long, but it's all exclusive. It's all exclusive. I haven't said it, not even in my program. I will do it next week or the week after, but you have it up front. So be proud.
Thank you, Rudi. Thank you very much. When is the release date scheduled?
So, as I said, Corona is delaying. I'm still very positive that the German and the English version will be out 2020. In the moment, what is going on is that the publishing house tries. I'm in a little bit of a conflict. I don't know if I should say that, but I'm honest as always, so I say it. And I have promised that it's going to be published in 2020, which, as you know, we have soon October. Is not a lot of months left. Since we have now 11 languages, and it is going to be a worldwide release, which is also a reason why it's clever to pre-order the book, because you have the following advantages. You are securing a copy of the first edition. So what you did was clever for the $10. You're securing the first, you get an autographed book, which you never get anywhere else, and you can have a dedication. Yeah. So, but because what it happens, if the book is finished, let's say tomorrow, which is now theoretical, the first thing that I'm going to do, and this is in my contract, is that those people who have pre-ordered get their book before it is on Amazon, in the stores, or wherever, you know? Because they waited the longest time. And I am somebody who feels for you guys, you know? So that means everybody says it will be sold out very quickly, and then there will be a second edition very soon, but it takes another month or 3 weeks or what have you to be printed and blah, 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 blah. So by pre-ordering, you not only get an autographed book with dedication, possibly, if you for $15 with dedication, but you secure that you are among the first people who get the book. Yeah. So, but
the collector
are now trying to persuade me and say 2021 is Freddie Mercury would have turned 75. And Queen has the official 50-year anniversary. And wouldn't it be cool that it is released in all 11 languages on the same day? And that's something which I didn't expect when I started this project. I was thinking bit by bit. I was thinking, okay, the German and the English version first, and then we do it territory by territory, depending. So this is now the discussion. That's why I say I'm still aiming for 2020, but I cannot tell you a release date because we are in the middle of these negotiations. But please, as I said, the live reading, as I did that, and that's why I accepted your suggestion to read something to show people how it's about, how it is, what this is. That I think is a fair thing of shortening the waiting time for those who paid already the $10.
Okay, good. Thank you. Do you already have an idea of the cover?
The problem is I have 5 ideas for the cover.
5?
And I don't know which one I should do. So the thing is that I'm in the middle of deciding it. I cannot, this is why I can't show you anything, because the thing is that a lot of arguments in the European way, a lot of things speak for the idea of having a photo of Freddie and myself on the cover. The pity is, or the reality is, that there is only a few good ones, of Freddie and myself, and they are publicized all over the world. They were publicized in all the articles from America to Russia to Italy. And on the other hand, I posted them when I started Insta and Facebook. So everybody knows those photographs. So I'm not sure if that is something which catches your eye, you know? On the other hand, you could say, well, if a photo is very well known, like there is 2, I think, iconic photos. One is the black and white photograph, which is actually the beginning of a chapter called Ping Pong, where I'm discussing, because I remember what Freddie said in that moment. Some chapters, also the one that you mentioned in your email before we agreed to do the interview, the Inner Circle, it has a photograph before the chapter starts. Because that I developed while writing, that I looked at photos and I had an idea of how to start the chapter. So those 2 chapters, the ping pong, about the creative ping pong between Freddie and myself when we created video ideas and concepts and so on. And the other chapter called The Inner Circle starts with a photograph, and I'm telling either that situation and then go on, or I'm coming to that situation and tell what happened before. Because in the inner circle, I can tell you that far, it's a photograph that that shows a big part of the inner circle in Freddie's house. Yeah, I'm not saying more. But I remember what happened before. There were rehearsals. And I was there and I was filming the rehearsals. So the chapter actually starts with a dialogue of Freddie, Brian, and Roger at the end of the last song they rehearsed. And then Freddie invites everybody, like he did very often, into his house. And then we do something which, again, if I tell it, then nobody wants to read the book. And so we come to that situation, which is the photo. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I got different approaches to different chapters. But coming back to the cover, there is not a lot of photographs around. So I mean, I just found one yesterday through a photographer. There will be a lot of unreleased photos in the book, yeah. But the ones with me, I was not so important, you know. Yes, I was insisting on some photos, like the one on the bench. I had the idea of having them sit there, all four of them, and then the gentleman who was the photographer, it was not Richard Young, it was somebody else, took that photo. And then I said, do you have a moment? Can I sit in the middle? And they said, yes, that's how this photograph came about. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. Others, like the one during One Vision, Jim Beach has asked me that I bring also a photographer. Yeah, so this was an Austrian photographer. His name was Peter Rösler, because we had two cameras and for filming and for the video, and we had the photographer because he wanted to have a whole package because it was in Munich, where he didn't have, you know, Richard Young or something, he would just have to call. So he knew me, and when I was standing there, he took that picture because he was Austrian. But that was a coincidence, you know? There is all, and I only started to ask Freddie and the band for a photo, usually one, during video shoots later. You know, for example, with Scandal, we were so busy. There are only photos which were in action. With Living on My Own, there is photos, but I'm rarely in it because it's mainly about Freddie, etc., etc. So I'm not sure. What do you think? What would be a great cover? Give me an idea.
Great cover. Well, I suggest you a picture with you.
Should it be a photo of Rudi and Freddie?
Yeah. You work with Freddie, and it's the good image.
No, I will decide very soon because everybody asks for the cover, and also, regardless, you know, we need to start advertise. This all what I'm doing is still sort of the unofficial Rudi, you know, service to the fans, but you know, we have to start planning a advertisement campaign and everything. We're talking of not 11 countries, we're talking of 11 languages. So think of the Spanish version will not only be in Spain, it will be in the whole of South America, Middle America, you know, how many countries that is, where in theory the Spanish version or the English version could be sold, or the French version, you know. So this needs months of planning, or at least, you know, weeks of planning, because that I learned from a certain Mr. Jim Beach. Sometimes, especially in a movie, he calls himself Jim Miami Beach. Yeah, which I know the truth about, but that's in a different life. As you know, not a lot of things in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody are not factually correct, which doesn't matter to me. Yeah, but they are. But also the story with Miami, I have a little bit of different memories how it came about. The problem is, not at the very beginning, 71, I wasn't there. But the problem is, I'm one of the few, like Peter Freestone, who were there for a long period of time as a witness of how things happened, you know? But I said at the world premiere, I don't mind that Bohemian Rhapsody it has the artistic freedom, because that's what you do in a musical. And that's how I'm an artist myself. I mind two things in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I also said this to my friend. I mean, Brian still calls me pal, which is the English word for, you know, the guy that you steal horses with is your pal, you know, so like, and I'm very proud of that. I'm also explaining in the foreword, by the way, that might be nice to mention, I write a postscriptum, and I say, I want to make a few things clear. One is, I'm calling this my friend Freddie, but that doesn't mean that I'm not friends with Brian and Roger. On the contrary, because no misunderstanding. And then I'm mentioning something which only came to me because I was trying to read my own book once. It was a few weeks ago, especially after I talked to Brian quite a lot, and I have a lot of contact to the Beach family, etc., on the phone and on whatever, Tilda and what have you, and Claudia. And I was reading the book with the eyes of Brian and Roger. Oh, you know? Yeah. Because I mean, I'm still friends with them. When I was writing it, I was just writing. It came out. Blah, blah, blah. So I wrote a postscriptum, especially for Brian and Roger, which says that that doesn't mean that I'm not friends with them, so that you don't misunderstand that. Like, okay, Rudi was only friends with Freddie. No. It was a special relationship with Freddie, but that had different reasons. But each relationship was special. I had a very special relationship to Roger, which I didn't have with Freddie. Roger and we were the party animals. We were going to all the fucking parties, and we really partied, believe me. You know, I'm happy that I'm still alive, you know, of what we all did. I'm not mentioning. And with Brian, it was always different, because Brian was on a different planet. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't take drugs, which is very clever. Today, I praise him for that and say, well done, Brian. But at the time, he was sort of, you know, was not participating when cocaine was taken, which I think was cool. But I mean, it was automatically a different relationship to Brian. But it was more a musical, artistic, sometimes astrology, sometimes other things, you know, that I didn't have with Freddie. So, but one thing came into my mind. The prostitute interview is very famous. It's also quoted in Bohemian Rhapsody, in the scene of a press conference, but everybody knows it was Rudi Dolezal, the long-haired hippie, who got it out of Freddie Mercury. Yeah, or Freddie Mercury wanted to tell Rudi that, you know. He chose me, and I was sort of, it fitted, as I say in what I read to you today. But on the same day, I also did an interview with Brian May. On the same day, in his suite at the same hotel. And the reason why I interviewed Freddie down at the parlor was because Freddie had an apartment in Munich, was not staying in the Hilton Hotel like all the others, like John Deacon, Roger Taylor, and Brian May. And he didn't want to have interviews in his apartment, of course, because that was too private, you know, because he did a lot of interviews that day. So that's why he set up his interviews, but before or after, I don't remember, but I know it was the same day. And the interview with Brian is also very good. It just never became that famous because he didn't say a line like, I'm just a rock and roll prostitute. But it's a very, 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 very good interview of Brian, what he says. And I'm going to release that Brian interview in full. I have the rights, by the way. So I will release that filmed video of the Brian interview, unedited, soon, to complete the history. Because if you read my book, you might come, and that's wrong, to the conclusion that because of the interview with Freddie, I got the job as a video director. I explain in the book later how this came about. But if you, for example, so I'm sure that it was a band decision to pick Rudi for One Vision with Jim Beach together. Yeah. And it also had other reasons, which I'm explaining in the book. But And I think that the interview with Brian and his impression of Rudi at that day was maybe equally important to the impression that Freddie had at the same day. So in order to be fair to history, so things like that. But I only came this idea when I sat down and said, well, what would Brian and Rodgers think when they read and Jim Beach, because they don't know anything. I didn't show them anything yet. I will show them soon, and they will be the first ones, to be honest, but before it comes out, but if they want, it all depends if they want. But that's maybe important.
Last two questions. Is possible for the cover voting for choose the cover?
Hey, that's a good idea. Wow. Hey, bravissimo. That's a great idea. It's like what I told you today with Invisible Man, that Queen asked me to do 3 concepts to choose the best one. I will do 3 very different covers and put it up for voting. That's a great idea. Thank you very much. Well, I didn't expect that I get anything out of this. I'm usually making you a favor. Okay. No, see, Roberto, that's why I like to be in your life or in your show or whatever you call it. You were using your chances, and it became better and better, and that's why I'm enjoying to go to you.
Last question, Rudi. Last question, and then you will be free. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a chapters you like the most, and why?
And let's put it this way. The chapters that I think the fans will be interested most with is Barbara Valentine's private parts, which deals whether or not Barbara and Freddie ever had sex. It, of course, was Elton the Gorilla in Slightly Mad.
Absolutely.
And it very likely is going to be Teeth, Hair, and Nose, where I was part as a side person and not important for a dinner party with Rod Stewart, Elton John, Freddie, and a few guests in Freddie's house. Because that's the things that I think the fans like the best, because it's something completely new, and I also have so far, although I was tempted when Queen the Untold Stories, I didn't tell the actual conclusion, so I kept it for the book. The thing, by the way, what I forgot to mention, to again give your friends another reason to pre-order the book, is I will have a drawing of Freddie's living room, which he called the sitting room, which had 2, not the whole house, but because a lot of my book, when I talk about Garden Lodge, I'm describing where we are in that room or in the house. So when you're reading the book, and you, for example, maybe I do it even so that you can take it out. That would be an interesting. You have that drawing, which is controlled and contributed by a very, very special person. I'm not saying who absolutely can guarantee that everything is correct. Then you can have that in front of you, and you can imagine when I'm saying, oh, we were at the fireplace, or we were at the kitchen, or we were at the TV or whatever, where that was.
We can work with imagination. Yeah,
exactly. But the things that I think are outstanding to me and very personal to me, one is called Freddie's Kiss. One, and I think that is cool, it's called The Worst Queen Video I've Ever Done. Because it's easy to say, oh, these are my best videos. Yeah, of course but there's one which I think is the worst, which I think, I'm not saying that I failed, but I'm always looking at me first. But it's the one I disliked the most, and I was the most unhappy when it was finished. Which I think shows the people what Freddie always said, don't take yourself too seriously. You know, if I would come to you and say, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm getting now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I won 2 Grammys and this, and yeah, sure, but you can read all that. If I am, Mick Jagger once said to me, if you starting to believe your own press release, you are on the way down.
Oh.
You know, because the outside world, yeah, sure, my press agent should do that, and they use wordings that I would not say about me because I'm just a filmmaker. But anyway, but so to stay self-critical and humble, and not take yourself too seriously, and be able to laugh about yourself every now and then and say, oh my God, this is what I did in the forward, you know, when I was the over ambitious Rudi and said, yeah, oh my God, you know, if you really want to great, oh my God, who the fuck I thought I was, you know, I mean, it was like, when I see this today, it's like another person. Anyway, and the last one is, of course, and you know quite a lot about it, it's about Freddie's last take. Because which I tell much more than what I told in the Untold Stories. Well, of course, soon there will be Untold Stories Part 2. There's other titles of chapters. One is being asked to organize a party for Queen in a whorehouse.
Oh.
And then there's another one about Peter Freestone. I mean, I could have picked that one as well. Yeah. He's the person for everything, I called it, you know. Well, anyway, there's 50, you know. So it's going to be definitely a very special book.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rudi, as always, for your time and kindness. Thank you. We see you at your backstage shows, okay, as always, every Sunday, okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Rudi.
Thank you for having me, and grazie mille a tutti I fans. Yeah. Viva Italia.
Thank you, Rudi. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.